So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the second session. How many of you attended the first session? Yeah, we have like a couple of people. So we had a really interesting first session related to the technology and advertising and how it's kind of disrupting everything. We will have the recording of that session as well. So if you're following us on our social media for the Vietnam Festival of Creativity and Design, so we will be posting them in a few days. If you're an RMIT student, then we will be putting in the canvas shells of Profcom classes. Okay? Profcom, yes. You can always get access to it from the social media as well. Okay? So yes, guys, now we are going to start our second session. And second session is about talent development. Specifically talent related to advertising, whether it's in creativity or whether it's in client servicing or planning. We are going to have an overall discussion about what is basically the expectation from some of the best creative leaders who are here in Vietnam. So we have them as our guests, and I'll introduce them in a minute. And we're also going to discuss what can we do to kind of, as an institution, to support the young creative talent. Institution, not only from the perspective of RMIT, but also from the perspective as an advertising institution, right? Okay, so I would like to first introduce our guests. One second, okay. Just a second. Yeah, technology. Okay, here we are. Okay, so first I would like to introduce Mr. Livio Grossi. Livio is Group Executive Director at Dentsu Creative Vietnam. So he's the bosses of the big bosses. And we have Jazz. Jazz Tona is a partner and creative director with Happiness Saigon. And we have our third guest, Ms. Natasha Cozy, who is an award-winning copywriter and also an associate lecturer at RMIT Vietnam. So please, guys, welcome. Come on the stage. Yes, you can sit over here. I'm left-handed person, so it's easier for me to move this way. Okay. Yeah, super excited. So thank you so much, first of all, for coming today and hopefully enlightening us with your knowledge and gyan. And thank you so much for all of you to coming and being a part of this very interesting talk that we are going to have. So I'm just going to start right away. Yeah, it's a panel discussion, so probably I'll be asking some questions and you can just answer. If you want to answer first, you can answer, or else we can just go one by one. So my very first question to you is, what do you look for in a candidate, especially in communication field, whether you are, you want somebody in the creatives or in the strategy or in client servicing, and like, what is the thing that basically you look for? Like, do you look at the GPA score that the students have, or do you look at their portfolios, or if they have won any awards, does that also help for the student, like for you to kind of decide whether they're good or not, or what kind of internships they have done? You know, there's so many criteria. So specifically, depending on your agency and your style of leadership, because all of you are basically leading your agencies, what is the thing that you look for?
Hello, hi. The first thing that I don't look at is your CV. That's the first thing that I don't look at. Yeah. And the second thing is your portfolio. Because coming out from uni, yeah, what I'm looking for mostly, I think it's attitude, right? It's definitely attitude and a little spark in your eyes, yeah. So we are well aware that portfolios coming out from unis can be very, might lack a little bit of tone of voice, of your own tone of voice, yeah, which is fine, because that's something that you will find throughout your career, yeah. But what it's important is that you show your own personality. Yeah, that's what I'm very, very interested in.
Just going over that answer, like how can then young talent attract your attention? Because they have already learned, like, you know, CV, portfolio, that's a gateway to get your attention, right? So what can they do to get your attention? Do you expect them to do something crazy to show their personality, or?
Money. Give me money.
Money.
And then no, it's really about personality. Yeah. So what I'm looking for is it's somebody that has something to say, a point of view, right? Because if you really think about any campaign, any communication, even like a logo design, yeah, it's got to have something about you, right? So if there's no point of view in the way that you present yourself, yeah, you will be just like everybody, right?
Jazz?
Yeah, I think I completely agree with Livio. I would add to that there's one thing in that personality which is very important for me, which is ambition. I don't really care about the work you've done or even where you went to school sometimes. But I think the most important thing is that you want to do this. And it's not me or your teacher or your parents who sent you to an agency to kind of apply, but it's you, you know, as a creative who really wants to you know, achieve this and hopefully make the best work that you want to make. So for me, as a creative director, that's what I really look at. You know, our first conversation oftentimes is just having a coffee and you know, just chatting a little bit, see who you are, and then the work usually comes second.
But how do they first get your attention? Like, to get to that stage, to have a coffee with you, they need to sense something or need to kind of stand out among all the other applications, right?
I think that's the easiest thing in the world. I think I'm the easiest guy to reach. You know, you send me on LinkedIn or you walk into the door even. I mean, that's maybe a first step, and that's also maybe intended. So I usually don't look too much on like CVs online and like these HR kind of emails. For me, it's more important that you kind of take the first step, and if you get there, I think I'm very easy to reach.
Wow, he's opening a flood of gates. Okay.
But also you need to be able to find him, so that's...
Yeah, you need to find him as well. He should also be there.
Our office is in D7, so...
Can I build up on that?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
As copywriter, but also teaching students, so we pay a lot of attention to motivating them to go and participate in different competitions. So how important is that for you, and what does it mean for you when the student gives you, you know, that I won this award?
I mean, awards are good, but for me they're more a show of intention, you know. So if you participate every time, it shows that you really want this. And then what the idea really is, like Livio said earlier, it's not that important at this stage. You know, it's great if you win awards. I mean, it's a great sign, but you know, sometimes the juries in those award shows are also not really aligned with what we are trying to do here in Vietnam. So I would say it's a good intention. It shows your intention that you really want this. So,
but they are important. So do participate to award shows, yeah, because it shows you that the world is bigger than just Vietnam.
Yes.
Okay, and that's very important, especially if you want to challenge how things are done here. And please do challenge how things are done here, because that's the only way that you're gonna have a career. Yeah, that maybe goes even beyond Vietnam. I guess maybe the goal could also be hired anywhere else. Yeah, why not? Yes.
True. Natasha, you have yourself won awards, you know, as a copywriter, and now that you are teaching topics which are very like creative-driven topics, so listening to their answers, what are you going to tell your students now?
I'm going to tell my students to work with real briefs. Okay. So because I understand and I really support that ambition to be an international professional. You might be working in Vietnam, but you need to have that aspiration to work with the modern reality. And that's why sometimes we give them the award briefs, or we motivate them to go and look, because they get real deadlines and they get real briefs and they get real brands. If it's a social brief, they have to get out of their perspective and study the situation elsewhere. So it teaches that respect for the profession, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree partially. I think next to that, what's very important is to do whatever you like to do, right? So to make the project that you love, you know, whether it's photography or even a different subject, That's where I think the personality comes in. Is do something that you care about. What are the problems in the world that you care about the most? And that's how I can kind of see what kind of person you are and whether or not this is something for us.
That's a very interesting suggestion.
Yeah, if I can just add, one of the questions that I asked the first interviews is to tell me anything and everything about yourself. Yeah, what are your most obscure interests? What is really that thing that makes you wanna wake up in the morning and think about something? Regardless of what it is. Yeah, even if it's like, I don't know, doing sculptures with toothpicks. I don't care. Yeah, but what is that really? That thing that makes you interested in something, yeah, because those things are what gonna make you unique from any other creatives, yeah. Because I think the trick is really to bring yourself into the work, yeah, and that's gonna generate much more interesting executions and much more powerful ideas.
Thank you. So just want to make an announcement, guys, that we also have headphones where everything that we are saying is being translated into Vietnamese. So you can also listen, and later if you have a question, you can also ask a question in Vietnamese. That's we have interpreters who are going to kind of translate everything. Okay? Yes. Okay. So let's move forward. So what resources does your agency use to hire talent? Particularly, like?
So, I mean, talking for the creative, we use absolutely nothing on purpose. All right, just like I mentioned earlier, I think we need to see kind of your ambition and intention. So, I think it's a good sign if it comes from you directly to me or Nietzsche, my colleague, for example. So, resources, not really. Maybe I can learn something from you, Livio, but yeah. So, it's intended that way, I think.
We do have an HR unit, yeah, but I don't think it's the best place to start, to be very honest, yeah. I don't even know if I can say this, but I don't even think that the HR people are actually trained so well to find and recognize talents, yeah. So I didn't say this, so erase it from...
You sign an NDA,
I love
right?
controversy.
But so that's why, as Jaz was saying, yeah, just try to reach directly, or if you have a friend that works in a place that you want to work, try to get noticed. Be aware of what's happening in the industry. Try to know people. Who are the creative directors? Who are the senior people? Yeah, what kind of work do they do? Yeah. Also, because if you really, really, really think about it, it's not much in what agency you're working with, it's what team you're going to end up with. And that's going to make a huge difference, yeah, in the type of work and the type of learning that you will do.
That's a great point. Like, it's more about choosing the right team rather than choosing the right organization. But again, when we talk about organization, every organization has a culture, like certain way of running. And sometimes you may have somebody who is, like, on paper, looks great, has great passion, has great interest, but they just don't fit into your team, right? So has it ever happened that you missed out on a talent because of that, or you got a talent and then you saw that it didn't fit in, and what did you do then?
It happens all the time, to be honest, yeah? So you meet somebody for the first couple of times, but then you really get to know people once you work with them. Mm-hmm. So after a few weeks, a few projects, you really understand if it's the right match in terms of culture, but also in terms of thinking. And then we reassess if it's the right fit or not.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a taboo sometimes, a lot of agencies are different, like even abroad. I've been fired twice, so it doesn't say everything. Sometimes it doesn't fit, or sometimes you go somewhere else and you see other creatives, juniors flourish somewhere else, and I think that's great. It's just part of the industry sometimes. Sometimes it also helps you to kind of grow a little bit. You sometimes need some adversity to learn and grow, so you can kind of become better after that.
So as somebody who's already working in an institution, what do you think we can do to like let our students know that about the culture, and how can they kind of cope about it, or how can they learn about it and understand where they can fit in?
First of all, I wanted to just add to what you said. In my experience working in the agency, for me, the very productive period was when we were working in as a creative pair, so copywriter and art director, because it was like very clear what briefs we can work on and what we can take. So something like that, a partnership and learning to work with other people clearly, respectfully, that is very important. But from the perspective what we tell our students, I would suggest following particular companies. So for example, if you like particular work, like your work stands out quite a lot, and then you start understanding the briefs that they're dealing with, the clients that they're dealing with, and then you can get closer to, you know, getting to know the company. So that can prepare you, because not all the clients are similar. Some big agencies working with big clients with more rigid structures. Some smaller agencies and boutiques, they work with more, well, not creative, but maybe even provocative briefs. So it's very different culture.
Thank you. Well, what strategies actually have you used yourself to attract talent?
The only strategy that I think works is the work. It's really putting out work that you are proud of, and then hopefully turns heads, yeah, and it sends a clear signal of what type of work you want to do. So that's the only thing that I think works.
Yeah, I agree completely. I would add to that I think awards play an important part in that. Not because we necessarily always love awards, and sometimes it can be a bit of a, you know, like a...
Awards as an agency winning awards.
Yes,
right.
yeah. So sometimes it can be feel a bit fake, you know, this entire chase for awards. But I do think in the end it is important because, you know, awards attract talent, awards attract clients as well. So there is a need for it. Maybe it's just more the story around it that can sometimes be a bit dull and a bit egocentric sometimes. But they do have an important place into our industry, I think.
Want to add something?
Yes, I'm interested, so being here in Vietnam, right, and how much you are interested in retaining talent, or you are more interested in having more fluid situation?
No, for me it's about retaining. I think I'm very proud as kind of a creative director if a junior stays and grows with us, with the company. I think that's something that you don't see a lot into the industry. You know, I think the average runtime in Vietnam is about 2 years. Yes, so I'm very proud to see that some creators have been with us since I arrived in Vietnam. And I think, you know, you learn together, you grow together. It's the same with clients. You know, if you're together for a long time, that's when great work starts to happen. So even when you talk about pitching, sometimes some clients pitch every year. I think that's very detrimental to the work you're doing and you're trying to build together. So it feels the same with clients and with creatives.
Yeah, because I know that turnover in Vietnam is quite short. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think the best scenario is that you as an agency grow and your creatives grow with it. I mean, I don't think there's anything nicer than that, right?
Wow. So moving forward, what are your thoughts on the biggest challenge that new professionals face when starting their career in agency, and how can they overcome them? Like, what do you think is the biggest challenge?
It all depends on what your ambition is. So the bigger the ambition, the bigger the challenge. Yeah. So that's it all boils down to that. Yeah. Which is unfortunately what I've seen so far. Yeah. There's no much ambition, but we hope that this new wave of students will bring that. Right. So from our side is maybe from my side, the challenge is exactly that, right? So ignite these people ignite these kids with the hunger, yeah, and to want to create something, yeah. I feel sometimes that even the junior are already jaded, they already give in to a system that it's difficult, because guys, this work is difficult, yeah. It's really a business of rejection, yeah. So you got to be super resilient and relentless, yeah. I'll give you an example, just because it happened today, yeah. So we're working on this campaign that you guys are going to see soon, and there's a tech component that we want to add to it, because we feel that with that, the campaign will be bigger, yeah. So the client said no 5 times. And I kept going back. And this morning, they say yes. So
Congratulations.
right, I mean, no is never an answer. If you strongly believe in something, yeah, you always need to keep pushing with the right rationales, with the right motive, right? And that's maybe the biggest challenge that I see within the juniors, but even the seniors. Yeah. So having that spark inside of you, don't give in, never.
I think that also it's a great paradigm shift if we're talking about students, because you're coming from university where someone would be setting goals for you, you need to do this. It's not school, but still, it's quite predictable environment. And then you go into the agency, imagine you got accepted, the dream fulfilled, and then you don't know what the ambition is.
Welcome to the real world.
Yes, kind of. Like what to do. And if there is a supporting environment, like if the seniors are telling you and helping you a bit more, because it's very competitive environment. But if no one is helping you, but that would be the challenge, to understand what your ambition is, where you are in this.
Yeah, I think, what is it that you really want? I think that's if I look at this question from my perspective in my agency, you come out of school and you started this creative path and you're in it now and you're creating some nice ideas in school. What do you want in your life? I can help you with that, but I cannot decide it for you. So I think it's up to you to decide, and it's okay to kind of doubt sometimes and to, sometimes be a bit distracted. But in the end, it's you who needs to want it in the end, I think.
So getting back to the question, culture also plays a big role, do you think? Like the way the Vietnamese culture is, of not questioning on the seniors, not raising a voice due to respect, not because they can't, but because of the respect. So does that also play a role? And if it does, then have you done anything to kind of mitigate that distance?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, sometimes if a junior is working at our place for a year and a half, and they're still kind of struggling a little bit in this, always their microphone on mute or sitting in the back, not the camera on. Sometimes you need to tell them the harsh truth and say, okay, now it's time to grow up. You've been here 1.5 years. Do you want to have another 1.5 years like this, or do you want to, do something you love? And I think, like I said, I can only help you with that until a certain point, and then it needs to come from you. It's about taking responsibilities for your ideas. I think at Happiness, what we always try to do is, when you have an idea, it's your idea, it remains your idea. I will be there, but you're kind of the protector of your own ideas. So you're in charge from the beginning to end. And there's nobody more passionate about your idea than yourself. So if you're not able to take that responsibility over your idea and you need other people to do it, then I don't think the Happiness is the place for you. But you need to learn that, to grow up and take that control and responsibility over your job.
You still give 1.5 years for them to kind of discover
too long.
No, I mean, there's different, if a person is obviously talented and passionate, but maybe very young still, or comes from we also have creatives who turned up and they were an accountant and they said, I want to be a creative. Okay, you really want it? Let's do it. But then it will take some time, So, I mean, exceptions are always there, right?
I like what you said about, in your question, you were talking about questioning. Yeah. Which, guys, that's the whole point. I think that's the whole point of advertising and communication. You need to question how things are, right? So I love to be challenged and questioned by my team, because that's the only way that we can push things forward, right? We need to question clients also. Never be too scared to say no to them, or to really dig deeper and ask questions back to them. Yeah. So question what they think is the right thing. Yeah. That is the only way that we can get to a place when the work becomes interesting. Right.
Yeah, and also maybe more important, why is, right? Like when you receive a brief that's written by someone, probably very smart, but it's just one interpretation. Like if you start questioning why, then you have to understand for yourself why things are a certain way. And maybe it's not always the truth. Maybe for yourself it's a different truth.
Yeah, don't take anything for granted. Yeah, nothing. In this industry, that's the magic trick. Yeah, from how your team is made. Yeah, because you were mentioning art director as a copywriter. Yes, but no, right? So I think work with anybody. If you have 3 designers to work with 3 designers. If you can work with an account, just work with. Question everything and always.
I wonder if in Vietnam it's the same, but where we're from, like when you were a creative, there was always this joke that the first thing you do when you receive a brief is to throw it away.
Yeah. Yes. I think it's in India, yes.
It was not like that in the bigger agency where I worked, but in the smaller one it was like that, yeah. But I was thinking that it's yet another shift to see the brief as not a problem that we need to solve with all the building blocks that we have, but see it rather as a starting question and what we can go with it. Because in the previous panel we were discussing AI, and that's yet another dimension of if you don't know about it and don't think about it, then you might not use it. So that would be interesting to think about challenges.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. Yeah, the brief is the starting point. Yeah, I mean it gives you the first parameters of what the problem is. Yeah, but not everything that's stated on the brief, it's rules. Yeah, also because you that's your starting point to think. Then you might arrive to spaces and places where it's miles ahead of the mindset that the people that wrote the brief had, right?
Sometimes you go to the direction you didn't know existed. Exactly. Yeah.
So, have you ever received a brief that you loved? Like absolutely, like you thought that this is the perfect brief. This is like the perfect platform to kind of just use it as a springboard and come up with something brilliant. And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question with the follow-up question.
Yeah, to be very honest, guys, I think the best work comes from non-briefs. So when you truly understand what a brand stands for, you don't need the brief. Yeah. So if you know exactly the core values of that brand, you know their problems, you know their narratives. That's the brief. That's exactly the brief, right? Then if they launching a new thing, then it's you just need to add to it. The brief is not going to tell you anything more.
I think coming back to briefs, I think your job as a creative is to be part of pop culture, understand pop culture, societal culture. So it's your job to understand what the problems are, not the brief to give it to you. So I think coming back to proactive work, it needs to come from a place of understanding from yourself, and that's kind of what your job is, to kind of understand what is relevant in today's world.
So as a young person, as a young creative, when you receive a brief, for example, most of the time the planning team does not get a lot of time to work on a brief because the turnover time has become less. So a lot of responsibility comes to the creatives to find the insights, to find those key points that they can kind of work on. So what do you think? Because now it's not only the role that you are expecting is not only of coming up with ideas, it's also of understanding everything.
I have an answer for that.
Yes, that's why.
So the answer is, you might think that your job as a creative is to create a key visual, but it's not. Your job as a creative is to tell a message. Yeah, and the message it's something that it's the most powerful thing. Yeah. Now, if that message might take the form of a film or a key visual or an activation but without that message, what are you actually saying, right? You got nothing. You might have the most beautiful picture, but you got nothing. Yeah. So that's where working very closely with the planning department helps. Yeah. And if they have nothing, you have to find it. Yeah.
I would add on that because sometimes you would have too much. So sometimes there would be too many messages in the brief coming from the client. And again, without the help of planning team or someone to take responsibility for that decision, choose something or create yet another thing, it might be a fail. Because if you just throw in too many messages at people, what they will understand.
Yeah, I suggest not to make briefs too important, you know. Great work has been made on shitty briefs and shitty work has been made on great briefs.
Yeah. Okay. How much importance do clients give to the briefs? Because one way for us in the agency to say that it's not important, but how do usually clients react to that?
It's just validation of their problem, you know. So a brief for me kind of functions as kind of a check to see, okay, this is really what your problem is, then let's take it from there.
And is it similar in Vietnam and other places that you have worked, or Vietnam is a little different, the scenario here?
I see things shifting more here. So maybe the briefs is a starting point, but then as you work on it, clients might change their mind. So it's not that rock solid. Yeah, maybe in some other countries, because of the planning part that was done before, it's way more solid. Yeah, it's way more anchored. Yeah, so therefore you just work on the creative executions of it, the creative expressions of it. Yeah, well here it feels like it's almost like a test, almost like you are experimenting, you are developing, right? It feels a little bit more like that. Yeah.
I think that's also something to do with the time. I think timelines are much quicker than where I'm from or other places where I worked. So I think that the biggest thing we always try to fight with the client is, okay, can we have more time? Because in our opinion, you know, more time means better quality. And it's not only for creative, it's also for the planning department.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I also would say that if you're working with the client that is changing or is unpredictable, the brief sometimes works as a document, like this was what you wanted us to say. So, because sometimes it may be good to go in uncharted territory, but sometimes the client pushes you somewhere where you don't want to go. So in this case, brief can protect you.
Great. Now, coming to clients, you know, we see that a lot of young creatives who enter, whether in client servicing or in creative, they feel that they don't get the respect from the client or their counterparts. I mean, that's not only one or two instances. I've spoken with a lot of my students who are doing internship, and that has been one of the point of issue, not from their own teams that they're working on, but from the client side. So, what do you think about that?
So what's the question? The young creatives don't get respect from clients?
Yes.
Not even the senior ones. Not even the senior ones that get the respect that they should. I think it's really about.
That's also a good answer. That expectation.
Okay, so I think there's a different way to answer this. I think the best work is always comes from a place of trust. Yeah. So when agency and brands work together for consistently for the longer time, that's where the best work, I think, comes from, because it's trust. Yeah. Because at both sides, right? So that's where you can push things a little bit. That's where the client says, okay, it's risky, but you succeeded the time before, so we can try. Yeah. So the only way to answer that is with probably time, yeah. But we move into a very bad habit that is project based.
Yes, it's tactical.
Yeah, project based tactical campaigns don't help with that. I mean, don't help brands because brands don't grow because there's no consistent narratives for the brand. Yeah, and therefore the relationship between the clients and agencies is not that strong. Yeah.
And trust is an issue. Jazz, your agency has some long-term relationship with some of the clients, but you also have been pitching a lot for new business, and also you have seen that a lot of project-based work is also coming. What do you think is happening over there?
We have a very simple rule, which is that we don't pitch if there's no potential for a long-term relationship. So we don't do any pitches like that. I mean, of course, sometimes the economy goes up and down, so sometimes you look at different kind of perspectives, but that's a rule we have for sure. And coming back to the respect, it's the same with respect. I don't think you can work with people who don't respect you. I mean, then you become a supplier maybe, and that's not what and how you build great brands, you know?
I would take on that. So it has two parts. Coming from university, students are expecting respect just per se because teachers support them, lecturers support them, their teammates support them, and we always tell them in real world it might be very, very different with stress and level of team relationship. Like you don't pick your group, for example. Yeah. You pick the group to work, to do the group project in uni, but you do not pick a group in the agency. And second, what I saw, and I really hope it's changing for the best, but it still might be, you know, in developing markets like that, that advertising is seen as a service industry. And it's difficult for clients to understand how is that you need so much time, how you need 2 weeks to work on a naming, for example. It's just a word. So from that misunderstanding and intangible, not having some tangible outcome before the campaign is launched. So it's difficult to understand why we should respect you. So again, continuing on your take, long-term relationship is the best for that.
Yes, but not always having the longest time helps. Yeah, it really depends on you. Yeah, sometimes having pressure helps a bit more. So when the deadline is very tight, you need to be hyper focused and you're able to, I don't know, to come up with something that otherwise you wouldn't have done it. Yeah. Yeah, I mean of course we always complain about time, but I think more than time we complain about volume. Yeah. At least that's my perspective. Yeah. When you have to jump on many things, you don't get to spend the time on that specific
focused attention.
Yeah, on that specific task.
Okay, so let's move. So Livio sent me a very interesting report by DNAD. The DNAD New Blood, they had done this research with a lot of young upcoming creatives and a lot of young students and a lot of young award-winning students who had won the DNAD. And one of the things that kind of caught my attention was this statistics that in the latest DNAD New Blood report, over 52% of young creatives are hungry for mentorship and guidance from experienced professionals. So what initiatives have you seen being implemented in Vietnam that has successfully supported the development of the local talent? It's a bit long question.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Vietnam, as a kind of collective, you know, all of us, we can do a bit of a better job creating this, you know, nurturing this creative environment for students, but also between agencies. I think we see each other a little bit too few. I think what's super important is things like this, but also portfolio nights and stuff like that. There is an opportunity to improve, you know, not just to talk and to network, but that there is this consistent conversation happening between all of us.
Yeah, and then also what I was telling before about the team that you end up working with. Yeah, it really depends on that. because I see every day there's creative directors that are way more willing to be inspiring, to be like a mentor, yeah, to use projects as your everyday school, right? And other ones that are a little less maybe interested in that. But yeah, as a industry, yeah, we should definitely do better. But with schools trying to elevate from the very beginning the output, that at least starting from there.
I wanted to ask, what's your take on internship? Because that's usually a shorter term partnership. So I can understand that might be not all the companies like it. What's your take on it?
No, we always have space for talents. So please, internships. We have 2 interns, creative interns at the moment. There's always a place at one of our agencies, but also at Happiness, we're always looking for interns, with talent.
Yeah, let me say this: the pool of talent here in Vietnam is very small. It's very, very, very small. Yeah. So everybody is looking for people. So, and of any type of seniority, let's say. Yeah. And but the more junior you are, the more opportunities you have to enter. Yeah. So.
And also more time to experiment, so you can try working in one place and see how that goes if you fit in the team.
Sure, yeah. Don't jump around too much, though. I don't think that helps. Yeah. The way that I look at interns is really potential hire for the future and trying to build and grow together. Yeah.
So one aspect that also comes to mind is the financial aspect of working in advertising as a young creative. It doesn't pay probably as it's not as lucrative as some of the other jobs if you go to the client side and all. So do you think that's also one of the reasons why not a lot of big talent pool is there? Because like from my experience, when I have a lot of students who are very creative, who are doing some really good work, they have won many awards. And the only thing that kind of stops them from going to working in an agency is always the fact that, it's probably not as lucrative pay-wise as some other industries.
If you're going in advertising for money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. So then probably you should do something else, because other jobs can earn you more money, for sure.
I mean, I think I told you already. It's a very difficult job, and I don't wanna lie about it. Yeah, it's very difficult. Because you come up with stuff that you obviously very proud about, yeah, and then you need to take it to somebody that might not see as you see it, right? So you get crushed all the time, yeah. So it's very important that you enter this industry with that hunger and that passion, yeah, because if you don't have that, you're in for a very painful ride, yeah.
Also something that I tell my students, that from the idea that you have, because you believe that you have this idea and then you will see it in the ad, but only about 10-5% of those you will actually be able to see, because you will have to change them and work on them and agree, and maybe they will go to a different dimension. So it's a very competitive, very unpredictable, and very grueling industry, because going to the shooting or photo shooting takes a lot of time and preparation for a 30-minute video sometimes.
Yeah, I think you have to be in love with the process of coming up with ideas more than in love with the fact that you might see your idea in the world, right? So the moment that you understand that, you realize the difference, yeah.
But also I find that sometimes people come to the industry because they want to express themselves. And that's a different take on it, because you're coming to do something for the client, not express yourself.
I don't quite agree on that. I mean, yes, there's the client, yes, but but as you. Yeah. So, and let's say if all of you design a logo, right, we will have how many? 30, 40 different logos, right? So that really says something. Yeah. So if you there's a lot of yourself that will go into the client. So it's really an expression. Yeah. So of course you need to be very clear what the brand stands for and match your expression with what the brand can take in. Yeah. But there will be a lot of that, I think.
So coming back to mentorship, do you still have the system in your agencies of a copywriter probably working with an art director as a team, or is it very fluid right now? Because in some places I've seen it's been more fluid.
It's super fluid, to be honest. We don't have that copywriter, art director thing. We used to be even more different with creative planners. Mm-hmm. We still have creative planners working closely with designers and copywriters and art directors. But as I was saying before, you need to be able to work with everybody. If it's just two designers thinking about ideas, thinking about copy, thinking about the messages, thinking about, and use, as Jet was saying, use culture. Yeah, use what you see out there to be inspired with your ideas, because that's the only way to be relevant.
Yeah, we restructured everything a couple of years ago, starting from the idea that it's quite ridiculous that we try to frame people who are all different between copy and art. So sure, you might have a preference for one of the two, but we renamed everything concept provider. So if you're a creative at Happiness, you're not a copywriter or an art director, you're just simply concept provider. And you will be paired with another concept provider who might share some of the skills that you have. But in the end, what it's about is you have a pool of talent, and we try to kind of make it as like a candy store that, okay, this project might need this designer. And you as a creative have kind of the power of that because it's your ID, right? So you can kind of pick and choose and collaborate with whoever you want to collaborate with. And so that's not only for the concept stage, it's also for, we have like a content department, they're content providers, you know? So that's kind of how we try to restructure everything and make it as flat organization as possible. You know, we also don't have senior, media, junior. I mean, they are, of course, but that's not reflected in title. That's just in their natural kind of hierarchy in the group, rather than, you know, another layer created on top of another layer.
Do you have any mentorship structure for senior to junior? Like when you're hiring someone, it's a fresh hire, it's an intern?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's important that you have kind of more experienced people in the group. But we try to keep the organization relatively small. So I would say we're about 70 people now, and we try not to grow anymore, even though the work might grow, but we feel that's a manageable size for me and my partners to kind of stay in touch with everyone and really be personal to everyone without the need to create another layer of, you know, another creative director in between us that kind of destroys that personal relationship between everyone.
Livio, you have a big team, right? You're leading a huge team, I believe. So how do you manage this, running them?
I don't. Yeah. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. But I just want to say something that about what he said. Yeah. Because it connects to culture. Yeah. So as a young creative, that's what you need to look for. Yeah. If that's the kind of environment that you want to try to thrive in, that's the places that you need to find. Yeah. In our case, we're much bigger, so we have to divide a bit more, right? So, and I don't get the chance to work with everybody, which is something that I would love to. Yeah, to be able to also learn from the more junior, right? So I just have to pick and choose, yeah, based on where the bigger fires are. Yeah.
Do you have teams assigned to particular clients?
Not officially, yeah, but we tend to pair what we think is best for a specific client. Yeah, so trying to, but at the same time also challenge that and then give opportunities. Yeah, sometimes we've done it a few times actually. I gave briefs to everybody. So in a couple of instances, I gave the same brief, and the brief was really one sentence. Yeah, so this, and everybody had to come up with ideas, regardless if you were a copywriter or
it's like a competition,
designer.
basically.
It's like an internal, more than a competition, it becomes an internal workshop. Yeah, and that helps also to break that, right? So and get everybody involved. Yeah, because sometimes you end up in a team and you also always do that type
Becoming a
of
bit
work.
predictable.
Yeah, it becomes a bit predictable. So every once in a while, it's good to shake these things up.
Okay, so moving to the next question. Loyalty is overrated. Is it true in our field nowadays? And or can we have someone like of the Lee Claw? And what strategies have you used to keep talent in your agency and not kind of leave?
Well, in my agency, which is not my agency, in Dentsu Redder and Dentsu Creative, they do a lot, to be honest. Especially in Redder, there's many programs to take care of people. Really, really, really a lot. Yeah, from the more junior to leadership. Right now we're having like a program for the most senior. It's almost like a year-long program where we have access to life coaches and they teach us how to become better leaders from a psychological and behavioral point of view. But there's also many other programs from being like from supporting economically. Let's say you want to buy a house, there's some sort of program where they can give you loans and stuff like that. So that's a great way to show that everybody's important and they're there to build something together and grow together.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is company culture, you know, and what we try to do at Happiness is it all starts from the work, you know, and it's an easy way to rationalize because that's our business. So what that means is that we believe that people who make the best work are people who are happy, you know, and we're called Happiness for a reason, and sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse, but we always need to think about happiness, you know, we need to, otherwise we're a joke, you know, so we do everything to make people happy. So we try to always continue to work at our company culture, whether it's, you know, we have a thing called 100% freedom, 200% responsibility, meaning you can work from wherever you want, whenever you want, as long as you live up to your responsibilities. And that reflects in a lot of different things, you know. So we're always trying to look, how can we make a culture that is creative and that is happy?
Natasha, you've again, you know, you've worked in when you were working in industry here in Vietnam. Did you see a lot of attrition and people moving from one agency to the other? And
I've seen some people like career advertising when usually at the senior level, where people, like you mentioned, jump agencies to start some projects but do not really want to build long-term relationships. So I've seen something like that. But I think I'm very happy about what you are saying about supporting, and I think that flexibility from the point of view of the company provides a lot of resources for people to really invest and stay with the agency.
Yeah, I mean, try to think about it, right? You know, creatives, they need to solve problems of businesses by being connected to culture. How can you be connected to culture if you're behind your desk all day, unhappy, depressed? Like,
Worried
that would be the
about
worst
your
ideas in the
future.
world, man. Yeah.
That's sometimes what results in that view, that we need to solve this problem, we need to, you know, make this commercial for this brand, and that's what keeps you, you know, on the basic level.
I mean, sure, there's a lot of ups and downs in this business. Like Livio said, you hear a lot of no all the time. Then you hear, yes, okay, my creative director likes the idea, but then, no, the client doesn't like the idea. And then, okay, we go again. And then up and down, up and down, up and down. That's kind of the business. But you need to love it, you know?
Do you think a lot of young creatives have that, that syndrome of thinking that they're not good enough? And have anybody approached you saying that?
Yeah, they have. Unfortunately, yes. You know, I think. I mean, I don't have maybe a great answer to that. You know, I mean, everybody's unhappy in certain times. We're all humans, you know. So I think it's a very normal thing to experience. I think, but everybody is unique and everybody has their own kind of skill qualities. Maybe not necessarily always great for the place where you are. But that's coming back to loyalty. I think one of the most important things. Like we're saying, don't jump ship, don't jump ship. But sometimes it's important to kind of explore to find the place where you are happy. You know, and if you have found that, that's great. You know, I think no agency is perfect. Everybody does it a slightly different way. But if you can find a place that, you know, fits the best to you, then you're very lucky. You know.
And also, I think we all feel it. I mean, we all feel that we're not good enough. Yeah, I mean, it's normal, yeah. But then you use that voice, you use that fuel to prove yourself and prove everybody else that maybe I can make it one more day, yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, it's only advertising, huh? Let's be honest. You know, you're not good enough to do advertising, you won't die.
Okay, I think this will be my last question, and then I'll open the floor for the questions from our lovely audiences. So what can educational institutions like RMIT do in Vietnam to support the young talent? Comes from both of us.
Well, first of all, what you guys are doing with all the competition, really, it's a step in the right direction, but it's not because of the awards. Yeah, it's not. The focus is not that. The focus is really understanding what are the ideas that move people. Yeah, what idea, especially coming from a market that is a very Me Too kind of market, where one brand does a rap music video and all of a sudden every other brand does a rap music video, right? Which nothing against that. I grew up with MTV. I love music videos. Yeah, but why every band needs to do it, right? So coming from a market like that, you need to understand that there's different ways, yeah. And leveling yourself with the rest of the world can help, yeah. So that's definitely one thing.
I think, yeah, you touched on a funny thing. I think in Vietnam, from when you're a baby, you're oftentimes told to not stand out. And we're in an industry where you need to stand out, so there's a conflict there. So if I can make a suggestion, besides the great things you're already doing, is, you know, bother us a bit more, maybe. Yeah, stand out a little bit more. I think we're all very happy to kind of connect more, you know. So.
And Natasha, what changes you did when you moved from like being a copywriter and from the agency into teaching? Like, did you bring anything with you from the agency that you thought would really work well with the students?
I usually focus on reality. And the main thing I tell students that you will never be doing campaign for yourself. So, because when we're creating something, first that comes into our mind, oh, it's a good idea, but for whom is it a good idea? So that's why understanding who are you doing it for is really important. So, and sometimes students have, you know, the imposter syndrome, but sometimes they have the opposite when they just know that my idea is great and I'm great. And both of those are unrealistic. So somehow it's important to give them opportunity to see what is being done, to follow the culture, to follow other agencies, to see where they're as close to reality as possible. Would be what I was trying. I also was trying to nerd the students out as well, to give them as many different things. We're practicing, so for example, I'm teaching copywriting. We're not only writing copy, we're writing little poems, we're writing lyrics for songs, we're writing radio, because you cannot imagine what you don't think exists. You need.
Sure, and then you never know that your next campaign might be a poem. Right?
This time for DNAD, I think there is one brief for Google typography, which is a poem. They're asking.
Exactly,
for
right?
typography
So
brief.
why, that's all about questioning. Yeah, so why a campaign needs to be done in a certain way, right? So that's all the things that you need to, that you need to question. Yeah, that's why having all those different interests helps, right? Shake up the media. Yeah, why things need to be done in a certain way? Why, or if it has to be a music video, then how do you make it different? Yeah, how do you disrupt the rap music video? So that's all the things that you need to think.
But yeah.
Sometimes, you know, you intend it to go a certain way and it goes another way, and that's fine, you know. So we did a campaign for that bike recently. I don't know if you saw it, but we got a lot of controversy, like because of safety, which was because of something happened in the past. But everything was done safe, so there was a lot of controversy about this clip we made. And in the end, it was fine because everybody saw it. I think we couldn't have had a better result, you know. So sometimes you can embrace a little bit the mistakes you're making or things are going a certain way, and you just roll with it.
You just need to have the contact with reality, what you know, what you see around you, not just be in your head.
Yeah. I think you know, it's you adapt a bit.
Yeah, but like mistakes are unpredictable. Yeah, and that is
Life is
The
unpredictable.
whole business is.
But that is what is interesting, right? Sometimes, I don't know, it happened to me like a million times. If I'm designing something, yeah, and then, I don't know, boom, I do something unintentional, and then you look at it, oh, shit, that's actually quite interesting, right? It's in your brain somehow, yeah, but if you follow too much the rule, you will go to where you know you can go, right? But embracing mistakes, embracing uncertainty, and embracing, I don't know, close your eyes and write the first word that comes to your mind, yeah, or drag your mouse to the left without, maybe it will unlock something that is way more interesting than following the guideline.
And this reflects right back to your portfolio, I think. Maybe to close the loop. I hate it when I see the CV with the stars. You know, where you kind of grade your skill level with the stars. Like, if I see a portfolio that doesn't make sense at all, I'm way more interested.
Yeah, or the graphs, like that. Yeah.
Or number one, number two.
Exactly, yeah. Your portfolio is yourself. Yeah. So if you really want to catch attention with your portfolio, what is it? Yeah. Is it? I don't know. You write yourself on a guitar and send that, for example. Yeah. I don't know. Just make your portfolio a reflection of who you are.
It's all communication. So portfolio is communication to you. It shows how well
It's
you.
your brand.
Yes.
You are your own brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are your own brand. So how do you communicate it?
To sum up the question about the students, that's also when you started go this and this and this. I usually tell students do 10, do 50. We need to do names, do 20 names, because first 3 names would be the same. Like people will come, name for the milk, people will come, you know, Dairy Queen. 20 people will come with Dairy Queen. But the crazy names, they come after 20, after 30.
Great. Wow. Thank you. So, are there any questions, guys? And again, I can say that if you want to ask a question in Vietnamese, please go ahead. We have translators and interpreters. So, yes. Any questions? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much for very interesting discussion. So I just have one question is that you mentioned that building trust between agency and client is really important, but then you also say that you don't do pitch. So how do I even start, like, know that I should work with you?
Thanks for the question. What I meant was, we only pitch if there's potential for a long-term relationship. So a lot of brands, they pitch every year, for example. We don't participate because then there's no opportunity to build a long-term relationship. So we only pitch if there is a potential for a long-term relationship to build that trust.
So how do you see that potential?
I mean, you chat, you talk about the work, about the problem, about the business. Sometimes you present some work. That happened multiple times that we participated in the first round of a pitch, we got the feedback, we don't feel the chemistry, okay, we don't participate in the second round. You know, so it's a bit of communication, and it also happens, let's be honest, it also happens that, okay, after 6 months or a year or 2 years working together, you kind of realize maybe this is not a great relationship, you know, and you stop it.
So is it true that if you ask for a pitching fee, mean that you don't want to pitch?
No, we ask for a pitching fee, always.
Okay.
We think that's important because it shows respect for the work and the hours that are put in. So we think nobody should work for free. And if you take happiness serious as a candidate, you know, small pitch fees should be okay. But I think in this business, what happens too often is that, you know, we just send a brief out to all the agencies and we don't really care who or what participates, but we want people to come to happiness with a pitch because they want us to work on their brief.
Okay, so my question is like, how many years should client go with you and you can think that it can be a loyal client?
112. I don't know. Yeah, it takes time. To be honest, to build a brand, it takes time. I don't know if it's 1 or 3 or 5. Yeah, but if you look globally, look at, for example, the work from TBWA and Apple. Yeah, they're constantly doing work for 20, 30 years. Yeah, so Wilder and Canyon and Nike had the same relationship for forever. I mean, they almost like the same thing. Of course, then they work on with other agencies for different projects and all of that. But the core of the brand has been developed by one partner. Right.
Like in your case, Bitty's Hunter, you guys have done some amazing work in Vietnam.
Yeah, so that's our own little case study, yes. We've been, I mean, personally I work with them for 4 years, and campaign after campaign we've been building on the same narrative. Yeah, that is the difference. Yeah, when brands go one project with one agency, it's so fragmented, yeah, and the people see it. I mean, the people start to lose interest in that brand, yeah. So that's the problem.
I also would add that it would depend on whether it's a new brand. For example, if the agency is launching the new brand from the name onwards, it creates trust from early on, because usually they either don't have experience previously or they're coming to this particular agency. But if the brand is established, yes, they're usually a bit more critical in coming to the agency, trying something, whether it goes or not. So it's a question of relationship, of the trust.
Yeah, what do you want out of as a brand? You know, do you want long-term building, or are you happy with doing an activation every year?
Actually, in reality, we got a very good chemistry with our clients for the first year of working. But some client that, I mean, like some case of independent agency, not like TBWA who you have a regional relationship. So after 1 year, and clients have so many layers and many different people, and they start. And I like other people, they want to look around other agency and want to get pitch.
But that's a problem that we cannot control. Yeah, we cannot control what brands are doing on their side. Yeah, and that's what my very personal opinion. I might be super wrong. That's the problem with many brands. Yeah, because those marketeers don't really care about the brand. It's just a job for them. Yeah, they can work for this brand or that brand and they jump around. They're not growing a brand, right? And that's the root of the problem. Yeah. Then they brief an agency, but without truly believing about and truly believing that they're growing that brand. Yeah. And therefore the work will never be good.
Do you have any benchmark for keeping, for retain a client? For example, like I win a client for 1 year contract, and after that to retain that client, it could be very costly for the agency in terms of talent, in terms of a lot of like trade-off for operation. So there's any benchmark like?
I'm not very good at answering this question.
I think you know the session that we have after this question will be perfect for that, because it is about relationship and agency and client relationship. Okay, so maybe keep that question. That's a good question.
Maybe I can just
Yes,
quickly
please.
from my experience, I think, it's not agency X and client X. Behind it is people, So if people change, then oftentimes you see, when this new CMO comes in, okay, probably there's going to be a pitch. So it's a relationship business in the end, There are no rules.
Okay.
And also we're coming back to the question of culture. If in the company culture, brand culture, it is seen as, growth, having pitching and changing agencies regularly, like that's what we do because we expect to have some new ideas, new blood like that, then they will do it. So if the culture is, they believe, like my personal belief is a relationship in general with target audience, with agencies, because that's how you get to know better and pinpoint some very important insights. But that's not everyone's approach.
Okay.
Yes.
My simple question around the talent. I like the word talent. Okay. With traditional before, when I learn, some people, Greek person say that if you want to become a talent man, you should working hard 99%, plus with 1% for new creativity or innovation. But now, that's the beginning of AI period. I think that we should looking back and remaining the new talent man in the new period. Okay, you are professor. Yes, so my question is, with the new AI tool, we have a more tool to do for creativity and innovation better than before. With the new talent man in the new period of AI, if I give you a chance to redefine or re-meaning what is the talent man in AI period, what do you talk? What do you do it?
What's the question?
So I think it's about new talent in the age of AI coming in.
Yes.
So does the parameters of talent change when we have AI to kind of work with you and kind of, is that's the question.
That's the question. Well, AI is another tool. Yeah. What we're looking for is people that are interested and in experimenting with whatever they have at their disposal. Yeah. If they come in and say, I know how to use whatever AI stuff, it's a nice thing to have. Yeah. But if they only use, if they can use it but they cannot have an idea with it, to be honest, it's quite useless to me. Yeah. Any tool, it should be
A tool.
it should be a tool. It's not an idea, right? It's just a tool. But yeah, if it helps their process to be faster, to bring more ideas, to explore more, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, with time, we have seen that initially when like Photoshop came, initially when InDesign came, that also had a lot of disruption among a lot of young talent because a lot of people were drawing. But again, that also helped in fastening the work, like making it much more professional. So AI is also just a tool that will help you evolve as a better talent. If you are doing, then there are a million of people also doing the same thing. So it's all there. But main thing is the idea. Can you come up with ideas? That is still a human thing to come up with.
And if you don't know how to use this new technology, I think it's good to show that you know about it, right? So you need to be able to know what is possible to do with them, even though you cannot do it by yourself. Yeah, that's something that at least I personally look into young talents. Yeah.
I have 2 comments on this one because first of all, it's a business of taking risks and making decisions, and AI cannot make decisions for you. It can present information or help you collect information or make you make an informed decision, but it still will be a person. And second is that for talent, as we see nowadays and what we see and teach students as well, the interpersonal relationship becomes so important. So it's easier to take someone who can work in the team and then they can learn how to use particular tools.
There is a joke about, AI. So the joke is that you still need to tell AI what to do and give the right prompt. So the client can never do that correctly. Anyway, so I think we have just space for one more question. Yeah? Okay. Just one more question, guys, because we have another session coming up.
Okay, so I would like to circle back to the DAG bike controversy. I really love the campaign, and I think this is something I would like to work for in the future. But do you think the Vietnamese culture would prevent us from being creative, being that audacious?
Listen, it's a difficult subject because there's also authorities involved, I think the goal is never to be problematic. The goal is to stand out, right? So sometimes, like I said, sometimes it happens a bit differently, but the core objective and the core idea, I think, is audacious, and any Vietnamese could think of that. In fact, all my creatives are Vietnamese, so sure, of course.
But controversy is good. I think it's a sign that you're onto something that will create conversations. Yeah. So advertising ideas need to, yes, you're aiming to sell products, yes, but you need to grab attention. Yeah. And if you just say gray stuff, yeah, there's no attention. Yeah.
And there are PR agencies to take care of controversies.
Yeah, no lovers without haters, If everybody thinks your idea is nice, then it's probably pretty boring.
Yeah, you want to say?
No.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. I'm sorry that we have to stop the session right now because we have the next session coming up in just a few minutes. I want to thank all the panel members for making this such an interesting and insightful session. Did you guys like it? Yeah? Big hand of applause. Thank you so much. Thank you. So yes, guys, please take a small break and then come back for the next session. Yeah? Thank you. And before leaving, I want to present our panel members with some token of gift. Yes. 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 So
It's a
I don't know what
name
it's in there, but I think it's something nice. Oh, it's passing game? Okay. Thank you. And this one is for you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.